Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and for today's video I'm going to be having a bit of a discussion with Brandon. He is here. You can say hello, Brandon.
Hey guys, what's up?
You may know him as What About Knobnard. He's on the podcast. He is my partner in crime here when it comes to speculating on Nintendo. And as we approach the end of the year, there's a few things I want to talk about with Brandon, so you'll be seeing this discussion and another come out relatively soon. They're sort of like a two-part series, but they will also function individually as well. But basically for this video, what we're going to be talking about is whether we're going to be seeing Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a new Donkey Kong, or a Metroid Prime Remake remaster announced soon, and which one will be announced first and which one will come out first. What's the timing of this? When should we sort of expect to see these games announced? So that's what we'll be focusing on today. Now, before we jump into the discussion, though, let me first very quickly talk about my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It is linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe. So, Brandon, we got these 3 rumored games.
Yes.
And they're not just like your basic rumors. These games have been rumored for a little while already, but they're coming from places.
Many leaks and rumors.
Many leaks and rumors. Yeah, many sources that we take seriously. For example, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Imran Khan, who works for Fanbyte right now and used to work for Game Informer, is saying that this game has been in development for a while, and initially this game was planned for a winter 2021 release, but because of a number of circumstances, maybe also including COVID, it's been pushed up a little bit. But point is, it's pretty far into development. It is nearly complete already. But then we also have the Metroid Prime Remaster, which has been talked about by a few different people, such as Jeff Grubb and Emily Rogers, and they're saying that Nintendo wants to put this out next year to celebrate the 20th anniversary for Metroid Prime. And apparently this game's been in development since either 2017 or 2018. And then you have Donkey Kong, which has been rumored by everyone.
Yeah.
Like, everyone. Even Nintendo's kind of rumoring it because we have the Donkey Kong expansion coming, which makes no sense. Like, why Donkey Kong? Why not Pikmin or Zelda or Pokemon or Animal Crossing or Splatoon? No, they're doing Donkey Kong, and then now they're casting Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong in the Mario movie. So there is already some like outward evidence that Nintendo has a plan for Donkey Kong, but the point is this has been rumored from many different places.
Hype going on.
There is the Donkey Kong hype. I mean, I've told you guys before that I even heard some things personally, so I do believe this is also something that's real. It's something to be taken seriously, the same way as Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the same way as Metroid Prime Remake. I think all 3 of these games are real things, and we will see them eventually, but the whole point of this video is sort of talking about which one we will see first, or second, or third, and when will they come out. So, Brandon, before I start diving into my thoughts on this, what's your thinking here? Which one do you think we could see first, or which one do you think we could see last?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of getting a general order here in my head. And for the first one, it kind of goes between Xenoblade 3 and the Metroid Prime Remake for me, as far as which one's going to get announced. Because we have seen Xenoblade 2 got announced in an early year event back in 2017. So regardless of if it's coming out like late in the year, it could still get announced early. But then you got the Metroid Prime Remake, which of course has been rumored for so many years. Well, more to the Metroid Prime trilogy, but this is kind of...
Yeah, it's like transition, right? Like at one point we thought it was a Prime trilogy, but now as more evidence has presented itself and development has progressed, it's become more clear that it's a Prime remake, and maybe 2 and 3 have been pushed off for another time.
Yeah, but I could also see this being announced, say, E3, like Metroid Dread, real quick.
And coming out a few months later, right? Yeah, totally agree. Yeah.
And then Donkey Kong, I just feel like the leaks haven't said very much as to what it actually is. There's a lot of gray area and a lot of just lack of information there. So I feel like that one might be announced last. Maybe that one be safe for like a September Direct. I don't even know if that one will be announced this upcoming year. I don't know. Who knows? I feel like that one's kind of the biggest wild card for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, all three of these games are incredibly exciting to me. Incredibly exciting. Like, these are some of my most anticipated games. Like, all three, I think, could be amazing stuff. Like, we're talking about, like, killer. Like, I'm excited for Breath of the Wild too, but these games are like all like just a little bit under in terms of my personal excitement level for these potential games. Yeah. But I kind of think I'm sort of agreeing with you, Brandon, in terms of the Donkey Kong situation. And it's interesting because, to your point, like with the other rumors, we've had information suggesting somewhat of a window of when they could be coming out. But with Donkey Kong, we don't really have that much of a window. Not from the rumors, but I can tell you this. Officially, we know that Nintendo plans to come out with the Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World in 2024. And I think it makes sense to have Donkey Kong being a thriving brand, a thriving gaming IP, before the park comes out. So, how do they do that? Well, one, we already know that Seth Rogen is going to be playing Donkey Kong in the Mario movie, which is coming out late next year. So that's definitely going to play a vital role in pumping up the Donkey Kong IP and making it popular again. But they're also going to need a game. So what I think this means is that by 2024, there needs to be a Donkey Kong game. In other words, I would say probably by 2023, actually, we should see this Donkey Kong game come out. But when you consider the Mario movie, maybe even we see the Donkey Kong game come out next year, 2022.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking 2023 with the Mario movie, because I feel like maybe they want to come out with the movie, show people, get people excited again. This is kind of their strategy for their other things like mobile or movies. I feel like their strategy is to hype up the product beforehand, typically. So maybe we see the movie first, we see Donkey Kong, we're like, hey guys, he is cool, Seth Rogen, here we go. He's got a big part of the story.
And it should be noted, there's also apparently a rumor that they're going to follow up the Mario movie with a Donkey Kong movie.
Oh, that would make sense. That would make perfect sense.
I do in general agree with you that, when we look at how Nintendo handled the mobile games, with the mobile games, they were sort of used to popularize the core IP, and then when those core IP came out after the mobile versions, they were more successful. But this is a Mario movie, not a Donkey Kong movie, right? So,
that's true.
I think that it makes sense to think maybe the Mario game comes out after the movie. And we've talked about on the channel before how we feel like maybe Switch 2 comes out perhaps sometime in 2023, and there's a history of Nintendo putting out 3D Mario early into the life cycle for a new system. So I feel like maybe the Mario movie comes out holiday 2022, and then maybe the Blu-ray comes out some point into 2023, and that's when we start to see the Mario game to also push this new system. If Zelda's coming out this year, they're not going to have Zelda ready to push the system, so they're going to need something else. And maybe Mario or Mario Kart, either one would kind of work with the Mario brand in the movie there.
Oh, both.
Yeah. But with that in mind, though, I also feel like it might be weird to have Donkey Kong and Mario come out close together. They could, but I think there might be some bit of a separation there. So Donkey Kong could be a 2023 thing, but I think the main point to be made here is that it doesn't seem like it needs to be a 2021 thing. Nintendo has a few years before they need to come out with Donkey Kong. Like if 2024 is like the deadline, right? Or late 2023, that way they can have Donkey Kong have some months of success, and then they do that. So I do see your point, though, that though Donkey Kong's not necessarily Mario itself, with Donkey Kong in the movie, that can help to popularize Donkey Kong and give it a better chance in 2023. And the gameplay styles are so different that maybe we could see both a Mario game and a Donkey Kong game come out in the same year. But either way, though, we both agree that based off this information, we don't have anything suggesting that it's coming out immediately. No. And based off the Donkey Kong movie that's rumored in the Mario movie and the Donkey Kong Park, Nintendo has a couple years before they need to actually come out with it.
I think that's actually a really good point. I don't know. They could put it in this year just to have something to hype up the movie, because they don't have Mario, really. I mean, what Mario do we have announced for next year is just sparks of hope at this point.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, but they could just announce something else Mario, and it'd be fine. They put out something Mario, usually like 2 or 3 things a year. So, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely tough to say for sure, but just comparing it to Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Metroid Prime Remake, we have more reason to think that those are coming out sooner. So even though Donkey Kong could maybe come out sometime next year, that would be the biggest surprise. It could come out 2022 or 2023 as well, is the main point here. Like, we're not really sure. Maybe it's 33% for each potential year, you know? So I would hedge my bets on the other two coming out first, and I think you agree with me on that. But then, out of not Donkey Kong, but out of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Metroid Prime Remake, which of those come first, right? Because according to Imran Khan, what they heard was that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was supposed to come out by the end of 2021, and I'm going to assume COVID played a role in delaying that, but they're even suggesting maybe like the first half of 2022. But personally, for me, I feel like if we're already talking about maybe the first half of next year, that doesn't necessarily even mean the first half of next year. I could see it come out in the second half of next year, but maybe not at the very end, maybe like August, September, you know, like that third quarter of the year. So I could kind of see that happening. And then also, that's just speculation on their part. It could take even longer. We've seen COVID impact things quite a bit. Like if holiday 2021 was what they were thinking before COVID impacts, maybe we're talking about a whole year later. So maybe we're not even seeing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 until 2022 as well.
I don't know, because it depends on when he got that information.
Right,
maybe
and we
they
don't know
decided
that.
to delay it a while back. Or maybe it was a more recent delay. Though we didn't see anything of the game, but I don't know.
It should
might
be
have been
noted
delayed before E3 when it was going to be announced.
Yeah, it should be noted that both Nate DeHay and Jeff Grubb in their podcasts before the Game Awards, they were speculating that there may have been a decent chance that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 could be announced at the Game Awards based off what they had heard. And I haven't seen that podcast yet. I probably should watch it, so please excuse me. But that was a speculation, not saying they were predicting it or anything, and maybe that's just based off what they heard from Imran Khan as well. But it just seems like a lot of people sort of expect that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is imminent for an announcement. So it does give me hope that it could come out next year. But I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, there's a bit more of an uncertainty, I would say, compared to Metroid Prime Remake. And the reason I'm arguing that is because from what we've heard from Emily Rogers, this project has been in development since like 2017 or 2018.
Yeah.
And it is a remake, not a full-on whole new game. So you would think that it wouldn't require as much time or effort or resources to do. I'm not saying it's going to be like a simple thing if it's been developed for this many years, I think the implication that it's not a simple thing, but still there's more of a foundation there. And also the idea behind it is to celebrate Metroid Prime's 20th anniversary, well, then you'd have to have it come out sometime in 2022. So if I had to bet, I'd say Metroid Prime is the safest one to make it out in 2022. I could see Xenoblade Chronicles 3 making it out in 2022 as well. I could see both coming out next year, but I think there's a chance that we don't actually see Xenoblade Chronicles 3 come out next year. I think both can, but I'm just gonna, if I'm betting anything, I'm saying Metroid Prime Remake is the most likely to come out. But that doesn't mean it will be announced first, though.
Yeah. When is the Prime anniversary? Is that in August?
It's technically November.
Oh, November, okay.
Yeah. I don't think they'll save it for November, though. I think they'll come out a few months earlier if they're planning on actually even doing it then. You know what?
Well, I mean, they could have it in November. It just depends on what Pokemon's doing.
Yeah, but I would also argue because Legends Arceus, maybe Gen 9 is going to be pushed up a little bit. Maybe it becomes more of an earlier release for 2023. I'm not, just as a quick thing I might want to correct myself with, I might have said it earlier in the discussion. In terms of Donkey Kong, I'm speculating it for 2022, 2023. I mean, heck, maybe 2024. So, I don't know. There's a huge gap there. But, going back to Xenoblade 3 and Metroid Prime, I think there's even, actually, honestly, there's even a chance that Prime Remake could be pushed into 2023 as well. Because I mean, let's face it, anniversary times don't matter that much. And if there's a plan for Metroid Dread DLC, that could maybe take the place for Metroid Prime in 2022. Prime Remake comes out 2023, and Prime 4 doesn't make it out until 2024. Oof. Now, I don't want to think that. I want to think that Prime 4 is going to be out by holiday 2023. But and if that's the case, and Prime Remake does make it out for 2022 for the anniversary, I think the implication there is that if there is going to be any Dread DLC, it's going to be something very minor, not something super substantial, which you could argue is actually supported by a lack of any Metroid announcements at the Game Awards, because if there was a time to announce Dread DLC, they should have done it at the Game Awards. They didn't. Yeah. So maybe there isn't going to be any significant Dread DLC, but I would conclude that for sure, at least in my opinion, if we don't get any Dread DLC announced by an earlier Nintendo Direct. If we don't get any Dread DLC announced by then I'll feel actually more confident about Prime Remake coming out in 2022. But I can see it not actually getting announced until E3, to your point from earlier, and it just comes out a few months later, the same way they handled Dread.
Yeah, I agree, because I also think that Prime Trilogy, or Prime Remake, is probably the most likely of the three to actually come out next year. But it's just, they could announce it so close to release, like they've done for so many other Metroid games lately.
Yeah, and because it's a remake, I think that window between reveal and release can be smaller as well.
It can be real small.
Yeah, but for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is going to be a big brand new game and supposedly much larger in scope and more technically advanced than Xenoblade 2 by a noticeable margin, that's going to need a bit more of a cycle, I think, more of a hype media cycle there. So even though I think Metroid Prime Remake makes more sense, or is a more likely bet to come out next year than Xenoblade Chronicles 3, if Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is going to make it out for next year, I can see them actually announcing it first, and it would be announced in an earlier Nintendo Direct. It would be like the early Nintendo Direct surprise sort of thing. Exactly. Like the same way how they announced Splatoon 3 earlier this year, I think they could do the same, but this time it would be Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And who knows, and it may not even be the final thing, but it may be like one of the two big final things they have at the end of the Direct.
Okay. And again, as I said, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that was announced in an earlier event. So they gave that one a pretty big hype cycle. The hype cycle was like almost half the development time of the entire game.
Yeah.
That game took like no time to develop for. Which also makes me more confident that we could see Xenoblade 3 this year, because it's been the biggest gap since like X.
Yeah.
I think X took like 5 years.
Yeah, and
we haven't had a new game in almost 5 years now.
And Definitive Edition came out, which is a remake, a remaster.
Right.
That came out 2020. So, and they have multiple studios. I think 2 to 2.5 years later is a reasonable amount of time to think that they could come out with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The implication being that they didn't actually start development after Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. They were working on Xenoblade 3 for a while before that.
I imagine that studio was completely separate. They didn't even work on the same thing.
So, and just me thinking about it more, I actually think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 probably won't come out in December again. I think with Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they were just so adamant about getting Xenoblade Chronicles 2 out for the launch year. Yeah, that's why they did it then. They kind of rushed it, actually. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, they're not going to rush it. So if it's coming out next year, it's because it's just pretty much ready. And that's pretty much it. And I actually think that Zelda is going to be like that late year sort of big launch game. So I think that actually could be in November if Pokemon's not coming out this year. And if Pokemon is coming out this year, then Zelda's like October. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe, if we're gonna see something come out in December, it's not gonna be something super big. I think, just kind of me thinking about it more, I think Smash and Xenoblade 2 came out in December more so because they felt they needed to get those games out by the end of the year to get the holiday sales out there. But in an ideal scenario, the games come out a little bit sooner. And we were so early in the Switch's life cycle at that time that it made sense to get those games out at that time, right? Like for Xenoblade 2, just so it could be out there for the launch year of the Switch. For Smash Brothers, it's so we could get that Smash Brothers out by the end of the second year. Like that, I think that was the main thinking behind that. So I think you know, and if you think about it, although the last few Decembers, while there may be something, it's never anything super substantial. So I think
they really calmed down in December lately.
Yeah, so in other words, I don't think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is either going to be a November or December release. Maybe October, but if I had to bet, I think Metroid makes more sense for October, just because, well, it's more fitting for the Halloween-y sort of theme. Dread had some success in October, and I think it's a good sort of thing to have come out right before Zelda. I mean, it could go either way, but just based off how they handle Dread, I think Prime is more likely for a E3 announcement October release, and based off the releases for some Xenoblade games, they could come out with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 like a few months after summer, like maybe August or September, and it could fit during that time period, which would also match up to the speculation from Imran Khan, who wrote his article about its potential release timing and such on Fanbyte.
Yeah, that would make sense. I could definitely see August or September. I feel like that's kind of the wild card slot for me.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. So I guess just to conclude my thoughts, I think Metroid Prime Remake is the most likely to come out next year. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has a decent chance. I'd say about 50%. And if it is coming out next year, it will be announced before Metroid Prime Remake, and it'll come out before Metroid Prime Remake. But if it's not ready, and COVID has played more of a role, it'll be delayed until 2022. Prime Remake, to me, is basically a shoo-in, and Donkey Kong, there's a chance it comes out next year instead of maybe Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or something like that, but I'm thinking at this point we have to wait until 2022 for Donkey Kong. I mean, 2023, actually.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't really disagree with any of those points. I kind of, you know, if I throw a wild card in here, I don't know, maybe it's not Xenoblade 3, maybe the rumors are all false, and it's Monolith's new IP, and that's coming out next year. We get Xenoblade later. Okay.
Sure. I mean, at that point, everything we've said, I think still applies. You just swap out Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for whatever Monolith's new IP actually is. Yeah. And just one final note about Donkey Kong. I think maybe it could be announced next year, maybe in a September Direct, and that's kind of them just getting it ready. Maybe it comes out in the first half of 2023. So it's not even necessarily even that far off. It's just probably further off than Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Metroid Prime Remake.
Announce it shortly before the movie, get people more hyped for the movie.
Yeah.
Movie gets people more hyped for the game. Game comes out not that long.
And then all of a sudden, Donkey Kong does get a little bit of that publicity and sort of boost from the Mario movie, and there's enough of a window where the Donkey Kong game could be successful, but then they could follow up with either a Mario Kart or a Mario game at the end of 2023. Maybe both. If there's a new system coming out, they could do it, but I think they'll probably I feel like a Mario game and a 3D Mario and a Mario Kart would probably be separated by a year or so, but either way, that's what I'm sort of thinking.
Come on the same year, but you know,
there's got to be some separation.
Maybe the same like year time span, not like the same.
They got to be divided by like
year.
6 months or something.
Yeah, like the first year of the Switch 2, not like
Mario Kart 8 came out April and Odyssey came out in October. First half versus second half. Yep, it was 6 months. April versus October, the 4th and 10th month. But
there you go.
Anyways, guys, I think that's it for this discussion. Are there any final points you want to make on this one, Brandon?
No, just excited to see when these are announced. Hopefully we hit it on the money.
Hopefully. All right, guys, if you guys have any thoughts of your own, share them in the comments below. This is On Just Restart. That is Brandon, also known as What About Nod Narb. We'll see y'all really soon. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.